And if life has got you feeling a little bit anxious these days, you are certainly not alone, whether it's money, politics, or just life in general. There is a new app that aims to help you manage your anxiety. It's called AQ, and here to tell us all about it is the Chief Science Officer and founder of Mindwell Labs, Dr. Shaun Nanavati. Welcome to Bay Area Focus.
Yeah, thank you.
So when it comes to anxiety, a lot of people think it's either something you have or you don't. You're saying that's not the case.
Well, I think that we all have anxiety, and we have it in certain moments. No one has anxiety 24 hours a day, and no one has zero anxiety. So what we're trying to do with this app is, or we are doing with the app, is tracking you minute by minute. So you're letting you know you're anxious. Maybe people are anxious just Tuesdays, 2 to 4. If that's the case, then you can anticipate that time. Oh, okay, this is my trigger. Maybe I can adjust for that or account for that or anticipate what's going on. And perhaps do a little mindfulness. Perhaps if you need to take medication, take it when needed. And now you're no longer an anxious person. You're just someone who deals with anxiety, like all of us.
And you're saying that there's a bunch of different kinds of anxiety.
Yeah, there is a lot of different kinds of anxiety. Sometimes you have a type of anxiety that's when you're watching a sporting event, which we've nicknamed anxiety. Right now, we did a survey. We found a number of people are suffering from what we would call anxiety, or anxiety around the banking system, around money. That's the number one topic we found where there's anxiety in the general population. We also found there's anxiety about our country and the direction that's going. You see right there, there's also a little bit of anxiety about all different things in the future that we can't control, basically. But if we come to understand what are the things that are causing anxiety, we can then essentially anticipate that trigger.
Talk a little bit about one that sort of rang true with me, pingxiety.
Pingxiety, the anxiety of being pinged regularly. A lot of times we have these iPhones and they're meant to, I remember when I got my first iPhone, it was liberating. I could get out of the office. And it turns out it can kind of be a little bit of a leash as well. You're never out of the office now. No matter where you are, you can be pinged or be contacted to do something from a supervisor or boss. So that is one of the anxieties, pingxiety, which we've labeled pingxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So you're pinged anytime you are.
And also planxiety.
Planxiety, yeah. Making plans, not being able to make the plans, it's really, I would say, almost hyper-consciousness of time. And with a lot of these anxieties, the consciousness or awareness, hyper-awareness of time does have a role in that. And so planxiety is one, anxiety, fangxiety. We've come up with these nicknames. And the reason we came up with these nicknames is to make it more fun, in a sense, or make it more, we should have public discussion of our anxieties between each other is very helpful in healing itself. So
I think that's absolutely true. Shedding a light on it, and I've got planxiety, so give me a minute on this one. Tell us how you start tracking this and start figuring out what different afflictions different people might have.
Well, what you have here is an Apple Watch, and the way it works now is it takes your pulse throughout the day. And when you have a certain cardiovascular or change in your pulse that's indicative of anxiety, we'll let you know in real time and can tell you when you're anxious, when you're not. But at the end of the day, you'll get then a report that will let you know, like, oh, this is when you're anxious. And then we use our, the analytics on the back end to say, okay, these are the patterns you see from week to week or month to month. And so you can begin to anticipate and see the patterns that you may not be able to see on the day-to-day level with your anxiety.
Now, one concern that critics might have about this is that it leads to overthinking. Anticipating an anxiety might make that come true, where otherwise maybe it wouldn't have.
Yeah, well, what we have is you don't have to be necessarily watching it all the time. You can look at it once a day at the end of the day and then say, oh, okay, yeah, maybe that was when I was anxious. Or even once a week. I mean, there's no need to look at it constantly. We're doing that for you. In a way, we're checking it out, we're keeping a record, and then you can decide on your own when to look at it and, and plan in a sense, or, like I said, you could take a class or a breathing exercise right before something's going to come up that generally triggers your anxiety.
And then be able to take some mindfulness instead of letting your body take over in those fight or flight reactions.
Exactly. It's all about the wisdom of the pause, I would say.
That's a good one. Wisdom of the pause. I like it. And do you anticipate more modern anxieties coming out?
Yeah, I think anxiety is a quality of modern life. To be honest, I think as we become more integrated with each other, we are also more dependent, and we've lost, in some sense, some control over our future. And how do we work with that? Right? There's the main thing is you don't want it to become a health problem, right? With the anxiety right now, we're seeing a lot of volatility in the markets. Maybe people losing some money. Maybe people make money. In either case, you don't want the say you did lose or make a certain amount of money. Is it worth a year of your life? Right? I mean,
Hmm.
at what point do we say, okay, look, enough's enough. It is worrying me, but I can put in a box and deal with it. I'm not going to let it affect my heart. I'm not going to let it affect, my blood pressure.
Hmm.
Both we know are risk factors for a lower mortality.
Hmm.
So what we're trying to do is here is like bring that awareness in such a way that it's good for the person and give them the tools necessary and allow them to deal with the anxieties that are part of modern life, but to the extent that you don't allow it to hurt one's health.
Yeah. All right. Modern solution to a modern problem.
Mm.
Dr. Nanavati, we really appreciate your insight on that. And if you're
Yeah, thank
interested,
you.
you can download the AQ app. Find out more by visiting theaqapp.com.